Alright everybody, let's go over every Green Lantern thing that happened in October of 2021. Green Lantern number 7 was delayed and came out late enough that my coverage of the issue will be the next video after this one. Between shipping delays and a shortage of materials, we all need to accept that release dates are going to be fluid until things are back to normal. So far, it seems that most books are able to stay within their target month, unless they were slated to come out at the end of the month, but either way, they're still coming and we just have to be patient. Speaking of which, Green Lantern number 8 was pushed from November 2nd to November 16th. There was a Jon Stewart story in DC's Halloween anthology, Are You Afraid of Darkseid? A play on the old TV show, Are You Afraid of the Dark? The Teen Titans telling scary stories around a campfire in a way that's directly inspired by that TV show is a really cool idea that I'd love to see them do again. But the problem here is that this Green Lantern story isn't scary at all. You wouldn't even know it was a Halloween story if it wasn't in this anthology, and it's just sort of a regular Green Lantern story, and it's kind of average at best. If you want a good Green Lantern short story that fits the season, go check out DC's 2019 anthology, Secrets of Sinister House. There's a Jessica Cruz story in there that I've already covered in a video, and it's a much better Halloween story than what we got this year. On the topic of Halloween, DC vs. Vampires number 1 came out, and all I'll say about it is that the issue is good, and Hal Jordan is one of the main characters. I realize that the internet has already thoroughly spoiled the twist in this issue, but if you don't know it already, go read the issue for yourself. I can't guarantee how big of a part Hal will play in the rest of this 12-issue series, but so far this looks to be another out-of-continuity Justice League-centric miniseries where Hal is going to be a lot of fun. Just like Justice League Last Ride. Issue 6 came out, and I'm in the exact same situation with this book as I was with DC vs. Vampires number 1. There is a ton of incredible Green Lantern stuff happening in this issue, and I literally cannot say or show any of it without totally spoiling the entire miniseries. I've been telling you to read Last Ride for months now, and there's one more issue left, so jump on if you haven't already. Speaking of outstanding stories you may have missed, Far Sector is now out in trade paperback. This one volume collects the entire 12-issue series, and you can read it without having any prior Green Lantern knowledge at all. I consider Far Sector to be the best Green Lantern book in decades, and one of my favorite Green Lantern runs of all time. So if you haven't given this book a chance yet, you really need to fix that. Now let's talk about Green Lantern in live-action television, specifically Jade, aka Jenny Lynn Hayden, appearing in the second season of Stargirl. This past month, Jenny was in 3 episodes of Stargirl, which sounds really cool until you realize how long it's been since we've seen her. Jenny first showed up in the final scene of episode 1, and she had a major role in episode 2. Then she's completely gone from the series until the second half of episode 10. There are 7.5 episodes in a row without her in them. And I get it. One of the biggest obstacles in the way of doing live-action Green Lantern on TV is that the ring is an expensive special effect that can be hard to make look good on a television budget. So you want to minimize how often it shows up. It's the same reason they introduced the Thunderbolt early and then backed off from it until the end of the season. It's also the same reason the core JSA on this show is made up of street-level brawlers, because those effects are just easier to do on TV. And that can all work out, especially since they came up with a good in-story reason for Jenny to be gone, saying that she's off searching for her brother Todd, which was in fact set up in episode 2. All of that makes sense and would be fine, if not for the fact that we have 7.5 episodes where the show in no way acknowledges that she exists. None of the characters ask where their new friend Jenny is, or wonders why Green Lantern's daughter isn't helping them deal with Eclipso. There's just nothing. Not a single word of dialogue addressing her absence until suddenly the season's almost over and she gets to be in the show again. It's as if those episodes were written by people who were never told about the new characters that had just been introduced. And the more I think about this, the more frustrated I get, because all of the decisions that got us to this point do in fact make sense, but they still add up to something that I'm not happy with. Introducing Jenny and the Thunderbolt at the beginning of the season and then removing them until the end of the season draws in viewers early with some flashy spectacle that foreshadows a really big grand finale, and their absence in the middle allows the show to easily build a sense of dread while the two most powerful heroes are gone, while also keeping the budget under control. And yeah, part of this is definitely me being a big Green Lantern fan who feels cheated, but it's also really bad storytelling to introduce these powerful characters who'd be a major asset to the JSA and then just pretend they don't exist for most of the season, only to half-heartedly tack on a reason for their absence when they do come back. At the time of this recording, there's still one episode left, so I'm hoping they'll pull out all the stops and finally give us what I thought we'd be getting from this character all season. Coming up in DC's solicitations for January, there are 3 things that jump out at me. Green Lantern number 10 is firmly dealing with the climax of Jeffrey Thorne's first arc on the series, and I should note that both issue 9 and 10 have amazing variant covers by Alan Qua. Justice League Infinity ends with number 7, so if you have a fondness for the JLU and its version of Jon Stewart, this sounds like an issue you won't want to miss. And finally, the thing I'm looking forward to the most is Justice League vs. Legion of Superheroes, the first issue of a 6-issue miniseries whose cover and solicitation both center on the Gold Lantern, who apparently has something to do with the coming of the Great Darkness, and thus the larger plans for the DC Universe in the coming year. Kal-El, the Gold Lantern, is coming back in a big way, and you know I'll be here to talk about it. Something I don't have much to say about is the DC Fandom, the second annual online convention substitute focusing exclusively on DC projects across all forms of media. There were a few little mentions of Green Lantern here and there, but the only thing of real significance was the brief announcement of a new animated movie titled Green Lantern Beware My Power. Other than the name and the fact that it's an animated movie, we know absolutely nothing about it. But I'm happy, since all of the direct-to-video Green Lantern animated movies have been pretty good, and I have no reason to doubt this one. I just wish they'd finish a Green Lantern project before announcing more. Now we've got an animated movie with no details, a live-action movie with no details, and an HBO Max TV show that they haven't said anything about in what feels like a very long time. And the Fandom seemed like the perfect place to take 30 seconds and just update us on what's going on with these projects, especially since half of the things talked about in the Fandom were still in production and had nothing finished to show. It made the whole thing feel like they should have waited another 6 months before doing this Fandom. I mean, after all, it's all recorded in advance and released solely online, so they can literally just do the Fandom whenever they want. I say forget about annualizing it and do it when enough stuff is ready to show off that an event is justified. Because I really didn't need to spend that much time watching them talk about how great it is that the CW Flash has yellow boots now. That's the big thing they decided to open with, and it should have been a pretty clear sign that I was going to find the rest of the Fandom pretty underwhelming. So that's the Green Lantern Roundup for October of 2021. If you have something to say about any of these topics, or if there's anything you think I missed, let's keep the conversation going in the comment section down below. You can usually find me reacting to these developments in real time on Twitter, and I'll be back doing another one of these videos a month from now. So subscribe and hit the bell to make sure you're notified when that video drops. Until then, thank you for taking the time to watch. My name is Dan, we'll talk again soon.